Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 169th episode of the Say Report. Nice. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and joining me from Utah, my host companion, Sejan Sarowick.
You
Sejan,
could hear me not laughing, couldn't you?
oh, dude, I kind of felt like you have a vacuum switch in your studio space, and you flicked it because all the air went out of the room.
Oh man, yeah, nice.
But it
Oh
is.
shit.
It's nice. In addition to it, being a woefully juvenile prank and the number that Bill and Ted were thinking of, 169 episodes is nothing to snark at.
Right.
Considering up before this, it was 45 episodes was my high point for anything I had worked on, and I'm not sure what yours was, but I think it was around that area.
Oh, we'll never pass that 1,000 episode podcast that I've been doing since 2012. No, it's fine. It's a conspiracy podcast. It's all about the robot uprising, and it's got baking tips, but it's fine. It's good.
It's weird that you don't, plug that. I would have no problem with you plugging that on the show. But
No,
I guess
the only reason I've been allowed to exist this long is nobody listens.
because if you know what though, I have a problem with the logic of the world you've just created for me, because if it's
90s radio, but yeah, okay.
if it's about the robots and baking tips, first of all, the robots would find out about it, right? If the robots are real, if the robots are out there and they are planning their uprising, or if they've already taken over, maybe that's what this virus is. It's just like the Cookie Monster virus.
You gotta hide in plain sight, man. It's you gotta be on the RF waves because they'd never think
Oh
to
my
check, right?
All right, you've just proven it. I have no objections with you having 1,000 episode podcast about the robot uprising / baking tips. I want to believe that you bring people in with the baking tips and then they stick around for the robot conspiracy. This is good. This is gold. Consider this mailed to myself on your behalf.
Oh, fucking great, man. Yeah, no, I've been having a good ass week over here. I hear you're in the middle of some shit though.
Yeah, no, it's just windy over here.
Oh, windy. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I suppose if I had to categorize the way that I felt when I got out of my car this afternoon getting home from work, it was sexually assaulted by the wind. It was in everything. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortably windy right now.
Okay.
There was, I think, something like 16 inches of snow in Augusta, Maine. So not only are they covered in snow, they also lost power, which is not a good time to be without power.
Yeah, all around right now. Yeah, everybody stay safe out there.
Yeah.
This is just crazy.
So yeah, no, I mean it's windy. It's not an earthquake, right? You lived through an earthquake. Me, it's a little windy. And it's not the kind of windy where I wonder which god of weather I may have offended somehow.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's what they're getting down south. You guys are, oh man.
Yeah, it's a nor'easter in April. It's happened before. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? But yes, so on to happier things than the wind, and that we watched some things.
We watched some things, man.
There's some stuff, and this conversation marks a conversation about what may become the New World Order, the NWO, if you're a wrestling fan from 1998.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was a big fan of NWO. I want to say it's for Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but really it's because in the WCW N64 game, all you had to do was win one match in order to unlock Diamond Dallas Page. And I flippin' love Diamond Dallas Page. I'm a big fan of DDP.
Yeah, but the fact that you only had to win one match to unlock him says some things about his standing in the league.
No, it says it's you had to become the champion of that league. So it actually says more about the league. You only had to win one match to qualify for the championship bout. And then you fought DDP and you became it.
Nice.
Also, since we're talking about Diamond Dallas Page, and I can't imagine there's ever going to be a time where that happens again.
Hell yeah. Oh, I see.
I would like to recommend that you go out and find Evil is Only Skin Deep. It is a duet between Diamond Dallas Page and Zorak from The Brack Show. Uh,
Oh my God. Now that you said it, it like all came flooding back to me.
Brack Presents The Brack Show starring Brack was the pilot for The Brack Show. And I think in a lot of ways it was better than The Brack Show. Don't get me wrong, love The Brack Show. But Brack presenting a variety hour clicked so many like levels for me. Buttons, it pushed button. I don't know. It's good. Look for
He's
Brack
a
Presents.
precursor to Eric Andre. He really is, like, in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, yes. But Franz Schubert, which is a giant talking shoe, Grape Ape coming back, is good. Brack Presents The Brack Show starring Brack is something to check out while you're in quarantine. Both episodes are up on YouTube, and it's the only one to find the duet between him and I can't think of. It's a country music star. They do a duet about We're Buds, but they only ever did it for the show. Every soundtrack is Brack singing with himself, which is equally hilarious, but it's not him singing a duet with popular at the time country music star.
We'll just say Garth Brooks.
No, it's a lady. Like, it becomes a love duet in weird ways.
Leanne Rhymes, then.
It's like Jodie Messina, but I don't want to say it's Jodie Messina, but that's what keeps flashing in my head. So we'll confirm that for you next week. What I'm doing is stalling, and I'm stalling because I don't want to admit that this is the conversation that we're about to have, a conversation about what may become the new normal. And that's the fact that August 10th was the first time since all of this craziness happened that a brand new film that had never seen the inside of a theater premiered at home.
You mean April 10th?
That's what I say.
August 10th.
I meant April 10th. I apologize.
All right. No, okay.
We didn't jump forward.
April 10th marks the first time that there was a movie that was supposed to be in theaters is completely not in theaters, and here we are getting it day of release on TV. Yep.
Well, we say completely not in theaters, but that's not necessarily true, because apparently in some states, I could not find anything to back this up, but I did some research on this particular film. It's playing at drive-in movie theaters.
Okay, that makes sense. I've actually heard a lot about that being a thing that people are considering for summer stuff. One of the big conversations out here is whether or not certain things should be moved to drive-ins, because they're actually rather popular out here.
Yeah,
so I'm not too surprised to hear that. I wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't see it in a drive-in. I'm gonna say that. The drive-in for me is for second run, something I've already seen before. Unless drive-ins are going to step up their game and give me crystal clear sound somehow.
Yeah, speaking of RF waves, yeah, man, I don't know if we'll ever get that, right? I don't know if that technology exists.
I mean, on some level, I feel like it would be pretty easy.
It's dependent, but it's too dependent on the receiver's like sound quality. You know what I mean? Maybe you personally could set something up and they could pipe it to you, sure, but they can't guarantee that everybody's going to have access to that. You know what I mean?
I guess what I would be thinking is Twitch is something that exists. Yeah. And people are able to stream audio and visual simultaneously there. So if you just did an audio track and they're like, make sure you're at this site, but I mean, sync issues would probably be would be a part of it, and there'd be issues. I understand that, but we live in the future. I wish that drive-in audio would catch up with that.
Oh, yeah, no. So progress must be made, for sure.
Before I'm going and seeing a new movie at the drive-in.
Yeah. I personally fucking love it, man. I've seen tons of movies for the first time at the drive-in. First time I saw Pirates of the Caribbean was at the drive-in.
I mean, the first time I saw Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie was at the drive-in, but I was 9. I was less concerning about, seeing movies at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we're talking about is Trolls World Tour, the sequel to 2016's Trolls.
Yeah. The real reason you don't want to be at a drive-in is because you wanted to dance.
What?
Offended him so much.
I don't even know. The problem that I have is I don't see the logical thread that you just that you just drew.
That trolls would make you want to get up and dance.
Why can't I dance in a drive-in?
I was like, what logically do you need for this? Oh, yeah, that one. No,
I thought it was that. I thought you were like creating a Footloose-esque edict that any town that has a drive-in also has outlawed dancing.
No. Well, keep in mind that first of all, the concept of driving you being in a car, that's not a hard connection to make. Also, at this time, the whole thing about the drive-in is you wouldn't want to get out of your car because you want to be maintaining social distance.
Yes, that's true. No, I mean, I'm talking any movie. World Tour, Trolls World Tour is not the reason I don't want to go to a drive-in.
That's where I was calling you out. No, I get you though.
Come on. How many times did you go to the drive-in and you sat in like lawn chairs in front of the car? Like that's a thing that people do, right?
Oh,
that's not.
Sure. Yeah, not going to be able to if we do this summer, people. Like, keep in mind, going to the drive-in is not free range to then get out of your car and cough all over everybody. Like, come on.
Yeah, you'd have to stay in your car. Okay, but so Trolls World Tour is the first time that a planned theatrical release had a simultaneous straight-to-digital release, because I think, what the hell is that movie with Ben Affleck? Almost Christmas? Is that the name of that movie? With him and James Gandolfini?
Oh, man. There and back again. No, I got nothing. Almost Christmas.
Surviving
maybe.
Christmas? It's something like that.
Christmas with the Cranks. No,
not Christmas with the Cranks.
Tim
It came out the same year as Christmas with the Cranks. It is a film where Ben Affleck is a famous actor in Hollywood. So you know it's fiction. And he wants to have Christmas like he had before. So he hires a family. Yeah, Surviving Christmas. So he hires a family. And that film had an almost simultaneous release. It's the only time that I can think of in my lifetime where a movie came out in theaters and then almost immediately to DVD. Yeah, and I only know that because I worked at Blockbuster. And we did a whole, we used to watch movies at my house. That night, we went out and saw it at the theater instead, knowing that it was coming to DVD on Tuesday.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yes, we live in a world now where cinema premieres in your living room, folks.
And of course, I was curious how well it did. So there's a very, very rough estimate of the amount of money that it made in its opening weekend, which is $1.9 million, which is 2% of its budget. For those at home who are doing math and who like math. And
the real killer. We'll talk more about this in a second.
Well, I'm sure we'll
rewatch the rewatching that is happening and not getting counted in all of this is a massacre. But we'll talk more about that.
But the thing that they actually used as a metric, the website that I had gone to, is the fact that it was #1 on Amazon Prime over the weekend.
Right.
But the movies that it dethroned were Bad Boys for Life and then Sonic the Hedgehog. Which the interesting thing for me is that both of those films, I mean, Bad Boys for Life came out in January, so it was about the time that it would be released when it came out. So you could buy it. It wasn't a rental for $20. It was to purchase it at $20 on digital. Ditto Sonic. Sonic had been out for, at that time, I want to say 6 weeks. But again, it was a purchase for $20. So the real strange thing about Trolls World Tour is that it was a rental for $20, and secondary bonus, you had it for 48 hours.
Yeah. So the rental thing was a surprise to us here because we went and we did it thinking we were purchasing it, and I'm not saying we would have done it differently. It just would have been nice to know. Amazon did not make it clear that you weren't getting a full purchase, and if anybody has one-click ordering on, be careful, because we clicked on it for more information, and the next thing we knew, we had it, and it was like, enjoy your 48-hour rental, and we were like, what? So just keep your eyes on that sort of thing going forward.
Right. Also, there are ways to look without being on it if it's purchase or rent. A lot of them
if you know to look for it, we didn't think to look for it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to people. I'm not. That was not an indictment of you and what happened. It's one of those things where do the research. You can do the research to make sure that you don't wind up in a sieging situation. as we'll
Don't
call it.
wind up in a siege situation for sure.
Nice
Yeah,
PSA there. But yeah, so that's the thing about Trolls World Tour is that it is rental, it is new, but you get it for 48 hours and it's $20. So family of 4, which I think that's about the nuclear family, right? That's sort of the bread and butter for who's going out to see this film in theaters.
Yeah, you got but to be clear, you have to be aware of how skewed my version of this world is because like family of 6 is really what you're talking about as the average out here.
Right. I know, I understand that, but I mean, if most
No,
people,
for the conversation that's about to happen, I'm just saying keep in mind.
you live in Utah, yes.
Yeah, I live in Mormon
country. Which is fine, right? Our differences make us stronger.
Mm-hmm.
If we were all the same, that wouldn't be harmony. Spoilers, maybe. Yeah, we're going to go deeper onto that. But it is one of these situations where you have it, and it is the cost of a family of 4 going out to the movies. In fact, it's more the cost of 2 people going out to the movies. Mm-hmm. Most tickets, I believe the average ticket price across the country is still $10. It may have sneaked up to $11.
Yeah, if it's gone anywhere, it's only gone up, though, right?
Yeah. So it's not bad. $20 is certainly not a bad price to rent this film, and then to have it for 48 hours where in the theater you see it one time, and sometimes I like to watch the credits. I feel like I paid for them as part of it, and I see those ushers who have to clean sitting there being like, we want to start cleaning and we can't until you leave.
Right.
You don't get that when you're watching at home.
Right.
And, since it is a kid's movie and everybody talks about, thanks Disney Plus for releasing Frozen 2, because now I've seen it 50 times, 48 hours for a 90-minute movie, you could get a lot of watches in.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of families out there where kids will sit down and watch the same movie 3 times in a row every day while mom and dad do, housework and stuff around them. So, like, it's not hard to imagine. You're right. That somebody out there put this movie on and just let it replay all weekend until their rental ran out.
Right. So, and that is not counted, right? Because they only get the $20 and they don't really care about watch hours right now. I feel like that might be a metric they're going to start judging movies on if this world order continues, because that's what YouTube's already using.
Right. And you can imagine like, oh, they've rented this, but actually 90% of the people that rented it turned it off after 30 minutes is going to be an interesting thing to finally get a handle on.
Yes.
You don't tend to walk out of a theater, right? Like if you do, it's pretty drastic, but I bet you a lot of people will turn a movie off that they're not enjoying.
Right. Especially, or they're going to pause it. It's gonna change everything. The fact that I looked for how much Trolls World Tour made over the weekend and got an article that said Trolls World Tour #1 at the Amazon Prime box office was strange to me.
It's fucking weird, right? Yeah. Yeah, man.
But it's where we are. It's what we're living in right now. So now that we've talked about that, Sejan and I both saw Trolls World Tour.
Mm-hmm.
I feel confident having a conversation about it. Do you?
Oh, am I not supposed to? Yeah. What?
I guess. Okay. So first of all, spoilers for Trolls World Tour.
Oh, huge spoilers! Because there's no way to talk about this movie without talking about the last 10 minutes
about this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really enjoy it.
Oh, it hurts my heart. Hurts my heart to hear it, man. Because I cannot tell you, like. I don't know how to explain like the circumstances in which I saw this movie. So on top of everything that's been going on with the coronavirus and 3 people living in a small space together, all dealing with various different levels of anxiety issues and things like that, we also had gotten off the back end of watching, of all things, Rushmore.
Right, because you've been doing a Wes Anderson rewatch.
We started our Wes Anderson rewatch. And so I'm like, we got off the back end of Rushmore. We're all sitting there and we're just like, it's 11 o'clock at night and we're just like, let's do this thing. The Amazon stuff happened and we were a little like not pissed, but like we felt like idiots, right? Like we're 3 30-year-old adults. We should be able to fucking figure out Amazon and not look like idiots. But so we're sitting there. We start this movie up. And I cannot tell you how instantly my entire world shifted from this like gray to this world of color. Like it was like straight up. And then we're just in it, man. And we were just in it for the next hour and a half of our lives. We just we bought into every fucking second of that movie and had so much fun and just like laughed. I straight up wept. Like I like I was in it. Like I feel bad that you did not enjoy it, but it doesn't offend me that you didn't enjoy it. We could definitely have a conversation about this.
Right. I feel bad and a little offended that I didn't enjoy it. A little bit of backstory. The day before, the Deckers have adopted, and you can hear more about this in Say Report Jr., because Dale has been talking more about what we've been doing with it on that show. Thursdays were when Dale and I went to the movie theater. I would get a ride to work either from her or my mother, and then she'd pick me up, and we'd spend at minimum 4 hours at the movie theater, because we'd see two of the new movies or a movie that we may have missed the week before. So we decided, since one of the ways that we're coping with the shifts in society is to maintain some semblance of routine. So we've been watching movies. Showtime is 5 o'clock on Thursdays. And so far we've done 4 movies. So How I Saw Green Book. Then we did The Way Back. I guess I've talked about the movies. I just didn't talk about the plan. Then we did Dirty Dancing, which I love Dirty Dancing, and I still have a lot of theories about Dirty Dancing. And it made me reminisce for the times of Three Friends and a Couch.
Was that new for Dale?
Dale had never seen Dirty Dancing.
Interesting. Have to listen to that episode.
Yeah. And then this past week we did Booksmart, which was new for my parents.
Okay. So you guys saw that,
yeah,
right?
We saw that in theater.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing happened watching Booksmart that second time at home, and that's I didn't enjoy it near as much as I did in the theater. Now, I don't know what could be the cause of that, but it kind of bummed me out. And I feel like that sort of permeated my experience with Trolls World Tour.
Oh.
Is this fact that I want to be seeing these movies in my place of worship, right? A lot of Catholics had to deal with the fact that they couldn't go to Easter Mass, right? Which is especially hard when you're a holiday Catholic, I imagine, who only goes on Christmas and Easter. Like the movie theater is sort of my place of worship. And, it's been officially a month since the last time I've been there.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that affected it. Maybe the songs weren't as loud, so I didn't feel it in my body. There was no feeling that I had to try and stop watching this film. And also it didn't feel as big or grandiose as I would have wanted it to. Plus there's no excitement watching it at home the same way as all day I'm looking forward to going to the theater to watch it. So
yeah, man. I mean, I can totally buy all of this affecting your experience. I mean, I don't want to cheapen your opinion though. If you didn't enjoy the thing, I mean, there's probably
all right. So how many times have you seen it?
So I've only watched it through the once that we had it, that we did that night. I mean,
all right. I watched it twice. I watched it again today, because I felt like I should give it another shot. See, maybe what was doing it. And I still have some issues with it. And yeah. So why don't you talk about yours? I'm happy that you got to experience this world of color, this world of happiness, especially on the back of Rushmore, right? Being one of the only other Wes Anderson movies I've seen, for batshit crazy reasons.
Yeah. No, so the whole story, right, is that we discover that there's more than just these trolls that are super into pop music, which anybody that saw the first movie, you kind of got that feeling there's really only one style in this world that they're really into, right? And the same goes for even the holiday special and stuff like that. And it's just as kind of the whole movie is this opening up of the trolls world, basically getting a little bit more into the lore of there being these other types of trolls, then how they're all kind of separated by the sense of music. And it's also kind of this opening to the idea that not all of them are always super happy, right? That there is this idea that trolls can have more feelings than just being super sugary and sweet. So it's really interesting to me because the biggest criticism that is still being thrown against this movie, and it was thrown against the first one too, is that it induces a headache with the colors and the level of giddiness that is in it. And I get where that criticism comes from, especially for parents that don't necessarily want to see it, but their kids demand to see it 3 or 4 times in a week, right? Like that, I can definitely see where that can come from. But the whole point of this one is this exploration of something more than that, and it leads to this idea that you learn about all different types of trolls that have all different types of music, and there's not one that is better or more important than the rest. It's better when they're all working in quote unquote harmony. So it's a pretty stock standard kids movie. So like all in all, like there's not much special going on in terms of like what it's trying to push agenda wise, but for that being said, like the music is just super fun. It never stops. The characters are all really goofy and really fun. It's not at the level of like DreamWorks seems to always have like 2 different types of sequels. They've either got that sequel that really pushes the series along, and that's rare. Like Kung Fu Panda 2 is like the prime example of that, right? Right. And like that's DreamWorks firing on all the cylinders. Even Shrek 2 is actually really good at doing that too, right? But then you look at some of their other stuff that comes along and you realize, okay, so not all of their sequel movies are like really pushing this thing. I don't know where Trolls falls yet. Like for me, yes, I really enjoyed it, but I do have to admit that like it doesn't bend the genre in a way that like Kung Fu Panda really kind of expands that world, right? Like and really kind of shows you that yes, these 5 fighting styles exist, but here's like the darker side of what this whole concept is, right? It's yeah. So it's not that, right? But I also don't feel that it's like it's not a Shrek Forever After or whatever the fucking you know what I mean? Like
Shrek
it's not...
Forever After is great, and I will fight
so...
you to the death for Shrek Forever After. Shrek the Third is garbage.
Okay, we can both agree on that.
Yeah, Shrek the Third. I mean, and maybe it's Justin Timberlake. Maybe I have a Justin Timberlake problem.
No,
but, yeah.
So like so there's not much more that I can really say about it, right? Like it's just it is a super fun, colorful movie that has a really good soundtrack and just really good goofy bits in it. And like I loved everything with Sam Rockwell was just hilarious to me. Like that was just fun. Yeah, man, I like I'm interested to hear what didn't work for you because I think that that's more interesting than me trying to sit here and just talk about like, yep, it was good.
No, but I wanted to have a baseline from you before I came in with my branch-like attitude. And the fact of the matter is, I felt that this film, Trolls World Tour, was incomplete. Like, I wanted more. It was a lot of they arrived after something had happened. Like, we didn't get to see the siege of the classical troll village. We got to see the aftermath and have it related to us by a penny whistle. We don't really, you don't really see, right? It's show not tell, right? Is how it is. And especially they get to the Funk, which is a spaceship. They don't seem to have a land anymore. It seems to have turned to desert. And the Funk attack, the rock trolls show up, and then you guys gotta get out of here. And what looks like is going to be a pretty cool battle between Funk and Rock, which are definitively 2 sects of music represented in this film who understand the history far better than the pop trolls.
Right.
Like that's just taken away from you, and it's taken away. And not only is it taken away, not only is it like, no, I want to see that. When are they going to get to the fireworks factory? Right. It's a really bad animation error that happens immediately after it. So I'm already disappointed that we don't get to see the fireworks factory. And then Branch's, like, hug watch switches arms inexplicably. And it really bothered me. And I know that's, like,
didn't even
stupid.
notice.
I know that's
no,
stupid.
I mean...
But it's because of, like, I was already at, like, I wanted to see what was happening there, right? Like, we keep following Poppy and Branch, and I understand why, because they're the main characters of the first film, but you had introduced us to this whole new section. You did fantastic casting with George Clinton as the king of the Funk Trolls, and then, no, bye. And I'm like, I was already thrown off, and then the animation error happened, and I was about to say something, and Dale goes, "Don't mention that the watch changed." So it wasn't just like a me thing. It was like this moment where like Dale was also teetering on her like connectedness to the film, and if I had said something, it may have broken it. I don't know. that's I don't. There's no Can't Stop the Feeling for Trolls World Tour. At least not for me. I don't think there's any song that I feel is like awesome required listening. That scene did get me back because they put Branch into the dance off, and if there's anybody who's going to have to participate in a dance off, I want it to be Branch, right? Hashtag sorry JT, I didn't mean it. Because that's one of the best moments in the film, but you get so little of that.
Yeah, well, so I think what you're highlighting is this movie's biggest sin is that it purports to be a story about how there's more to this world than just this world of pop that Poppy has created for her trolls, right? And this idea of learning that, hey, there's more out there and expanding your horizons. But it all is falling in line with, like, it all becomes pop eventually, right? And I think that is super obvious in the fact that the whole thing focuses on just Western music. I mean, there's this attempt at acknowledging Eastern music with like yodeling and K-pop, but that's it, right?
I mean, even reggaeton.
Right.
Yeah,
but okay, so like one more.
It's all no, but it's all types of world music.
Right, right. But it's not right. Like it's three types of world music, right? Like it's not this recognition of like this whole other side of the world that has music in it, right? And so for a movie that like is all about like exploring the other and expanding your horizons, the end is really all about like bringing them all together into what is essentially the world of pop, right? Like so that is just, that bleeds into everything, right? Is the reason that you don't see the classical stuff is because there's not much they can do to make classical pop except throw it in as a fucking soundbite in the last song, right? The reason that you don't see more between the funk and the rock stuff is because like it doesn't line up with like pushing the pop narrative, right? And so for a movie that is so focused on teaching you that there's more to the world than pop, it sure does a lot of work to ignore the rest of the world besides pop, right?
No better example of that than when they meet Prince D, the prince of the funk trolls, and he's like, "Oh, your map is out of date." And Branch is like, "Oh yeah, look, it's still got disco on there." And it's like, "Wait, so there are other trolls?" Like, that's what I want to see. I want this to be an exploration of other music, but it's not what they want to do, because the introduction of the bounty hunters, which is, you know, smooth jazz, reggaeton, the K-pop crew, and the yodelers, that introduction that they exist is longer than any of the time you get to spend with them after that fact. And the smooth jazz troll is one of the things that they sold this movie on. I feel like his appearance in the trailer was longer than his appearance in the film.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because like for the style of story that they're aping, right? Like this assassin's gambit that's being thrown at them. Like it was awesome to be able to see so many different types. And I don't know, like in some ways I don't want the bit to go on too long. Like the joke of the smooth jazz troll, as my eyes, is perfect. Yes, it's short, but it's also perfect. So like the second that any movie, never mind animated or kids movie, starts pushing a joke and it dies on me, like I don't go in for that. I'd rather have it be short and sweet. I mean, like, yeah, I did wish that they had more of them to spend time with. Yes, I can't deny that.
Like, and it would make sense why those characters, the bounty hunter trolls, would be so interested in what Queen Barb is offering, which we need to address that. That needs to be the next thing we talk about, because they are, I mean, we're told there are 6 types of trolls. And then it's like, but there are these 4 trolls, like, there are these 4 tribes of trolls who have nowhere else to go. And the Scar, who is promising them the Pride Lands, is saying everything's going to be rock, but you're going to get your own area where your music can live. Like, that would be appealing if the entire history of this world, in the parts of it that allow history to happen, like, you're not acknowledged. You don't have a voice. You don't have a face. You don't have a tribe. And you're right. It's just all whitewashed and bye-bye. And it also, I have a real problem with the message in the film of, like, just because people are different doesn't mean we need to be afraid of them, to differences matter, to we can all sing together in harmony. as long as we maintain what makes us different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty well. So there is a paradox at play there for sure, but it's a real life one.
I yes.
You know what I mean? Like that is the exact line that as like a intelligent progressive human you have to walk every day. You have to say like I need to acknowledge everybody's differences, but I also need to make sure that I'm not letting those differences define them. But I do need to acknowledge those differences, but they cannot define them. That's just life, man. Like
Right, and that's life. But the problem that I have with it is that it's a gray area, right? I think that what you just said proves that being able to acknowledge someone's differences while not letting them define who that person is the grayest area that we as human beings have to cope with every single day of our lives.
right.
And this film spends so much time with them as black and white, and the gray just comes too little too late. Maybe
no. I mean, I think that's a fair criticism. I think the thing for me is that the package that this is all being delivered in, I couldn't expect much more from it. So maybe that's what it is. Is if it wanted to surprise me and be better than it is, then that would have been fantastic. But I didn't need it to be better than it is. It just like all I was I'll be the first to admit that like it was really weird, this whole idea of like we're gonna talk about world music, but we're also specifically going to talk about how it's all seen through a Western lens. It's like, okay, that's not actually exploring world music, guys. Like that's like that's like 101 in academia, like how you study this shit. Like whole it's a whole obvious thing, right? So like coming at it from that and like starting at that point, the rest of it is all just like cheesecake. Like it's like, yep, this is really cheesy and there's a lot of problems with it, but it's not bothering me. I don't like, yeah.
So the problem is I didn't shut off my brain soon enough.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it sounds like. Is
like that's the only thing I can say in defense of any of this is just like at the end of the day, you have to understand that like what this movie is capable of doing. It did a lot with what with the little bit of wiggle room that it has to be this way, right?
Yeah, I'll agree. That's a solid critique or a solid. I'm not sure it's a solid point that you just made. Point is what I wanted to say. Point was the word I couldn't think of.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, and that also speaks to what you're saying, that lens issue. The fact that these 6 forms of music are pop, rock, country, funk, techno, and classical is fucking bananas.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah. And so like level that criticism against this movie. Like take this movie should be taken to task for that sort of shit. I'm not saying that it gets a pass because it's a kids movie and it should get a pass. That's ridiculous. We should always expect more out of it. And so it's going to land in this like solid space in history where there's going to be people out there that just enjoy it like me, and there's going to be people out there that it just doesn't sit right with them, and that's you. And that's exactly what I think this movie deserves. I don't think it deserves any more or any less than that.
That's pretty solid, Sijin. Nice job. Thumbs up. We like, you know what it is, as we're talking about it, I guess what I wanted out of Trolls World Tour and what I expected from the marketing was How to Train Your Dragon 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, because yes, and it's always going to be that way with marketing, especially, because we have seen DreamWorks succeed. So it's not hard for us to believe that it's going to be that next How to Train Your Dragon 2, that it's going to be that next fucking Kung Fu Panda trilogy, right? Like I am excited to see like what that next thing is for DreamWorks. I don't think it's going to be Trolls.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Trolls continued in any sort of meaningful way. I know that they'll probably still have the show and maybe another Christmas special, but I'd be very surprised if 4 years from now we're talking about Trolls the other side of the world, or like
I'm willing to bet that we do see another Trolls movie, but it's not going to be the tentpole for DreamWorks that Trolls 2 really was. There's a reason that this got pushed out to these types of places instead of being held back in any way like we've seen with some other movies, and that's because like DreamWorks was depending on this movie. Like it got moved to the specific spot to hold up some stuff that DreamWorks was really kind of struggling with, and so I don't think we're going to see that again. I bet we see a sequel, but I bet it's just not nearly as big as this one was.
To go with my existing comparison, I bet we'll see the time distance between sequels that we saw between How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Hidden World. Where like I was excited that there was another one because it had been so long since I got to see a How to Train Your Dragon film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the issue because How to Train Your Dragon 2 I absolutely loved until it added like another 20 minutes to the movie because I'm like this is an awesome place to end this movie and then have a third movie. But it's a kids film, so you can't have that downer ending in a kids film because it's not going to entice the children to go see the third one. They're just going to remember how terrible that ending was for them.
Yeah, what's the one where the kid's the tree that they plant in the backyard?
August Green.
If something like that, yeah, where like infamously there's like YouTube videos of parents leaving that movie with their kids in tears at the back of their seat, like
The Secret Life of Timothy Green is actually the name of that.
Timothy Green, yeah.
Starring Jennifer Garner because she is a sucker for being in a movie that will make your kids cry. Think about it. Yeah, no, so that's it.
Electra, no. Sorry.
I was more thinking of
Daredevil?
the one where the kid falls out of the tree.
Oh, God.
Heaven exists. Heaven is real.
Yeah.
God's not dead. I think it's one of those. One of those movies where at the end of the trailer it says, if your church group wants to book a screening, contact this website.
Contact Kevin Sorbo. Yeah.
I wound up attending one of those at Providence Place Mall for War Room because I did not know that it was a hyper-Christian movie at all. And I just bought tickets to see it because they were still selling tickets. And then we get there and it is a huge church group and me and Hibbert seeing that movie.
Oh, what a fucking that sight to see.
Let me tell you the worst. I mean, that was a great movie. I will say that War Room is a very good movie, even with the religious stuff, because it's less about like I could spin it more as having faith, which is what I believe we should have, less than having faith in God. Like you should have faith in yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, it worked for me. Again, there might be a huge God element that I just ignored in order to make the narrative work for myself, and I will admit that. But the worst part about part about that movie was one of my managers at the office job I was working was part of that church group and saw me there. And then the next day at work, she's like, I saw you at that War Room screening. If you ever want to talk about your faith. And I'm like, oh, God, what? Actions sometimes have consequences that you do not think of. That's the lesson that I'm trying to teach here.
That's the lesson Devin got from War Room.
I liked War Room, though. I'll be honest. I think Morris Chestnut's in it. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It was fun. I would watch War Room again. Maybe I'll force my family to watch it some Thursday.
Oh man, report back on that one.
But I would like to talk about Queen Barb while we're still on the world tour thing, and then we can. You said you saw some other stuff. I definitely did some other stuff that I want to talk about. I dug the character, but I guess I would have wanted more from her. Like I said, the film feels incomplete. There's narrative that happens for, I want to say, 5 minutes where she's kind of lonely being the queen.
Right.
And
well, and it's supposed to be the buy-in for why her and Poppy end up becoming friends in the end is because because they're the, being queens, they understand each other in a way that nobody else really can, right? It's supposed to be the whole concept. But you're not wrong. I mean, she disappears for like 25 minutes in the middle of this movie where she is supposed to be like the big driving force.
Yeah, it'd be like if Thanos didn't show up as much as he did in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Because and maybe that's what they were trying to avoid, is making her too sympathetic, but then she does kind of become a good guy at the end. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a third Trolls movie sometime down the line, it's going to be this nation of Trollandia fighting against other trolls, or maybe finding other trolls.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
I
where
don't
you
know.
go from here or what it's supposed to be. But also, Ozzy Osbourne as the former king of rock was also fantastic. Which is why I was a little confused that Kelly Clarkson was the leader of country.
Why?
Because, like,
She's a huge country artist right now, man.
but like Dolly Parton is the person that's on the same level as
I
Ozzy and
mean,
George Clinton.
you have to imagine other people that they must have gone to for some of these roles, right? I
Yes,
mean,
that's.
like,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is I bet that they wanted to try and get Skrillex for Trollex, and
mhm.
he's like, I don't do techno
Right, right,
because he
right.
doesn't. He does whatever that stuff is called. I can't remember the name of. Dubstep? Dubstep. It's dubstep. That's the word I
Oh,
was looking for.
that, you know, yeah.
It's been
Yeah,
10
I don't
years
know,
since I
man.
heard
I
that
thought Kelly
phrase.
Clarkson was a fantastic pull because the second that I heard her voice, I knew who it was. I was like, oh, okay. This is like I was super excited. So I don't know, maybe that was just for like me.
That's good, and that's fine. I mean, and again, Sam Rockwell, great, and Fluga Borg, again, showing up in another Anna Kendrick, and Sam Rockwell and Anna Kendrick. I mean, go watch Mr. Right. That's the movie I'm also going to recommend. I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix if you have Netflix. That's a good movie. And it's the semi-sequel to American Ultra. They exist in the same world. And
No
I'm a
shit.
big American Ultra fan.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, he was in the same program that Jesse Eisenberg's character was in, and then so was Dirk Gently in the Dirk Gently series with Elijah Wood as Dirk Gently. Not it's. I don't know if he's Dirk Gently. He might be the regular person in
No,
that
he's the
show.
regular Joe. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not Dirk. Yeah. Okay.
But they all they're all written by Max Brooks, I believe. He had his fingers in all of them in writing, and the American Ultra program exists in all three of them.
You just blew my fucking mind. This
Yeah.
is the coolest news I've heard in a long
Well,
time.
I'm glad to do that,
I'm gonna have to
especially.
like rewatch all of this now with that knowledge. I'm super
So yeah,
excited.
so American Ultra to Mr. Right, and then Dirk Gently is more tangential than American Ultra into Mr. Right.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting, and I love American Ultra. Walton Goggins. I know that we've talked about other people who would be like worthy of a History Month. He
Yeah.
might be my front runner. I mean, it's gonna be some time before
I
we
think
can do that, but
Yeah, I think the thing about him that I love so much is that like once you start talking about him, you realize, wow, like this dude has a history and he's been in a ton of stuff I like. It's such a sleeper hit. Like he really is like like the definition of like the just that actor. You know what it is? He's gonna be like the next like Christopher Walken, the next like Morgan Freeman. That one that just showed up in so much stuff as you were growing up and you just always kind of liked him and you didn't quite know who he was, and now suddenly you realize he's everywhere.
yeah, yeah, he's awesome. Oh God, my daddy had an army. Sorry, I'm just in it. I'm in it right now. All right. So, anything else to say about Trolls World Tour before we shuffle off to something else for this?
No, I mean like I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like go and see that movie if you're just looking for a good time. If you're looking for some deep exploration of world music, don't expect it.
Yeah, maybe the world in the title is a bit of a misnomer.
There you
Also,
go.
don't go and see it. Stay home and see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Sejin gave
Yeah,
terrible advice.
no, go to your living room to see it.
Nice, solid.
Get a night out of it.
So, what else have you been up to besides Trolls? I mean, I saw.
So
Yeah.
speaking of these like straight to home movies, like I saw what ended up being a smaller movie than I expected, but actually still quite enjoyable. And I watched Onward.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, like I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I cannot believe like I at first I didn't understand why it was like not everywhere, right? And now after seeing it, I totally understand why. It's because it's not that big of a movie. You know, like Pixar does this really great thing where it creates worlds, right? And then in every one of their movies, it's a world that you kind of want to still be in and stay in. And I still think that that's completely true about Onward. It's definitely a world that I want to be in. But like it's got a cast of like six. Like what? Like there's like no there's no major like groupings of characters in it. It was just really weird. A lot of the movie is spent between the two brothers like out in the middle of nowhere. They're not even in like crowded places in the movie. So it's a very 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 interesting type of Pixar movie because it felt like it was a much smaller one than they've ever done before.
Yeah. I don't disagree. In fact, that's one of the things I like about it. It reminded me of Ratatouille in that way.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
fact that one of the reasons why I'll say down on Pixar. I wasn't a huge Pixar guy until Sejin dragged me to Ratatouille. I only say this because I told someone this story over the weekend as I was talking about Onward and all this other stuff. Sejin dragged me to see Ratatouille because it was the first movie in a double feature that I was excited to see. I couldn't tell you the second movie at this time. If Sejin remembered, I would be super impressed.
No, man, Ratatouille. What could have been a double feature at that time with it?
Something
Can't
summer 2007 is that's
Yeah.
all it is. And so, but Sejin is like, we're going to see Ratatouille, and then we'll go see this. And I'm like, well, I really want to see that second movie, so I'll sit through Ratatouille. And I ended up loving it. And what I really liked about it is it wasn't like Cars, which has a cast of like dozens.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like that whole town of Radiator Springs.
And it only gets bigger with each movie. Like
Yeah.
every subsequent movie is about like really expanding that world.
Yeah, or it's not Bug's Life, or even Toy Story has a big cast.
Mm-hmm.
Ratatouille is very much focused on the relationship between Remy and Linguini, and then aside from their relationship, Remy's relationship to his father, and Linguini's relationship with the girl whose name I can't remember, and I feel terrible about that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is a big, which is what another thing about Onward that I enjoy is that it's not huge, and it doesn't really need to be huge. It can just be these two brothers going on an adventure, and it really appealed to me, Onward, because it was a good sibling relationship. Someone spoke to me recently about Love, Simon, and the fact that I didn't like it because of the relationship he had with his younger sister. And I'm like, well, you know, it's hard for me because I have a pretty good relationship with my own sibling, so I'm not entertained by that, right?
Yeah.
Except for in Ferris Bueller. But, you know, the whole fact of that matter is it's showing they're never antagonistic to each other directly, but, you know, that's the kind of thing that happens. She still loves her brother.
Yeah, as is evidenced in the end when she saves his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So Onward, for me, I was on board the second, spoilers for Onward, the second they're like, but magic was too hard, so we invented electricity. I'm just like, on board, you got me. I don't care what you're gonna do with me for the next 2 hours, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Because that was so wonderful. Like, just like, yeah, magic is hard. Like, even though we think it would make things easier, it's probably take some time. Gotta learn some spells.
Yeah.
Gotta have one of those wands.
Yeah, and in terms of size, like I thought it was really brave to have one of your main characters be this like half a body that does not have a personality, although he does develop one, which is really cool. But like there's not a voice. Like I'm not sitting there thinking like, isn't this great? Like I can hear Chris Forte this whole time. Like there's nothing to that character until you really get to like know the character. And it was, yeah, it's just beautifully done. And man, every time Pixar comes out with a movie, I'm so impressed with the art in it. Specifically the moment when they're driving through the beanstalks, and so there's all these giant magical ass beanstalks, and there's this beautiful uphill and mountains behind them, and then driving through it all is this beat up van with this shitty paint job on the side. And I was just like, that's it. That's this movie. Like that's this movie in a shot. Like it's so good. Yeah. So check out Onward. I mean, like we don't have to dwell on it too much longer, but like I saw it this weekend in this whole like rush of trying to see these movies that just weren't going to survive in theaters, or now are not going to even come out in theaters. And it definitely deserves a watch. With all the love that everybody's giving Frozen, I want to make sure that people aren't ignoring Onward.
That's very good, because I was afraid this year, 2020, was supposed to be, I say supposed to be because we're still up in the air about it, another double Pixar year. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, I tend to back the wrong horse. Case in point, Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur. I am Good Dinosaur all the way. Don't really care for Inside Out. And I was nervous that, from what I heard from other people, that I had done that again. That Soul was going to be the movie that everybody got up all in their head about and excited. And that Onward was just going to kind of fall flat. But hearing it from you that you enjoyed it as much as you did, maybe I'm not wrong this time. Maybe I picked the right horse.
No, I think Soul has a lot of really interesting things going on with it too. There's some stuff that's definitely that we're going to talk about when that comes out as well. But no, man, like this was fun. It was gorgeous and like super rewatchable. Yeah,
super rewatchable. I haven't gotten a chance to yet because I've been busy with other things, but I am excited to sit down and rewatch Onward now that it's on Disney Plus. What I am going to ask is, did you watch the Simpsons short that played before it in the theater?
No, it's out though. The Maggie one. Yeah, I have not watched it yet. I was very surprised to see it advertised, but we were going to watch the movie, and so I have not checked it out yet.
But I just want to make sure because, I mean, rarely do I feel like the short is like should be there. Like I've had a lot of issues with the pairings between shorts. I think the only one that really worked for me on every level was Paperman with Wreck-It Ralph. Because of the fact that it was super analog to hyper digital. The Simpsons short worked amazingly in front of Onward.
Excellent.
And everybody should watch it. I believe its play date was Density. Because it's Maggie.
Yeah.
Or it might just be play date with Destiny. It's one of those. It's on Disney Plus and it's worth a watch. This could be the thing that gets the Simpsons an Oscar. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. I'm sure that was awesome. Their goal.
That's awesome.
So what did I wanted to touch on something else that I did drumming it out. Oh, our DVR is under 50%. And that's awesome, right? That only happens when the world has completely shifted.
Hey, man, I'm very impressed. Congratulations.
Yeah. All Rise, I'm super on board with it. I know that I was touch and go with it. Really recommend All Rise if you're looking for something to watch. Bull, this is probably going to be the last season. I'm ready for Bull to end personally, but I was ready for
season 5 or
season 4.
Okay.
I was ready for Bull to end last year though, and I said I wasn't going to watch any of this season, but desperate times call for different TV shows. And I think, SWAT is still killing it. I fucking love SWAT. There's a lot of TV out there, and it's not all just on Netflix and Hulu. So take a look at what's on CBS. You'd be surprised at some of the quality that they got going on right now.
Yeah. They've been doing a lot of weird bait and switch with some of their stuff, but check it out.
Yeah. So have you watched DuckTales yet?
No, I haven't watched DuckTales yet. Why?
Son of a bitch! Because I'm very angry about something that happened in the 3rd episode of DuckTales.
Oh, okay.
So,
right.
I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you here. I'm not going to ruin it for you. But they did something, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. So that's something that we're going to talk about at a later date, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
When Sejan finally watches... There are 3 episodes of season 3 of DuckTales, Sejan. You gotta watch them, please.
Yeah, man. Well, we're these busy times. I'm out and about all the
day. Yeah, you're
so.
just out there doing things, living your best life. You don't want to just sit at home watching television. I get it. I understand.
Is this the first time that we've recorded since you platinumed Resident Evil 3?
It is, because I platinumed it the day after we recorded. I platinumed Resident Evil 3. To be fair, I only had 3 trophies left during last week's episode, so it wasn't a long journey.
Yeah, I've been looking at some of the ones that are required for Borderlands, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. I gotta take another look. I'm still playing the hell out of that game.
I gotta play. We should play that game. We should make plans on our show, but we should probably play some Borderlands 3. I could use that distraction after the world of Resident Evil 3, and I've been trying to finish Control just because I just stopped playing Control because Dale bought it and then was like, don't beat a game I bought before I do. So I stopped, but then she stopped, and I'm like, I'd like to finish the game. I'm kind of invested in what's going on.
Please, may I?
And she gave me the go ahead because she's become Little Miss Apex and Overwatch again.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Did she tell you about our epic match the other day?
No, were you the Predator?
I was the Predator. I predatorized. I was the last one standing, and I was team two. I won't. I mean, like I died. Like I got killed. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I did any better than that. But I was the last one alive. They died like fucking team 20, and I made it all the way to team two, just sneaking around. I even got a little bit of damage on a couple of people. It was fun. It was real fun.
I'm glad. That I don't know. I'm not. I got to give that stuff another shot. It's just been so long since I've played competitive multiplayer games.
I'm terrible at it. Like my excitement at what just happened is because it'll never happen again. Like yeah, but you should play it again with us.
Yeah, I'll try not to hurt my foot. I'm walking again. That's the other thing. My foot healed from the injury before our production meeting, so I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Anything else you want to add or talk about? I mean, we still got some time, or do you want to send this one off to the listeners, Sejan?
Trying to think other things that have been going on. Thinking about doing a rewatch of Twin Peaks. Kind of curious of turning it into something more than just a rewatch. So I will, keep your ear to the ground about that if that becomes something. But like now's the time to like go out and do that thing that you've always kind of wanted to do around the house that you've just never had the chance to. Silly shit, like a puzzle that maybe you've never finished or a game you've never finished. Do that shit.
I definitely found a puzzle that was gifted to me my freshman year of college, and I'm considering opening it up. It's a photo mosaic Mickey, 1,000 pieces. I don't know. After what happened when I got that all green piece Luigi puzzle that broke my brain, I'm a little puzzle shy. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, we've been doing a Disney one that's a 1,500 piece one amongst the family, and it's been on the floor for about 6 days now, 7 days. It's actually starting to its existence is starting to eat at my soul.
I think last year I bought a Three Musketeers, the Chris O'Donnell's Three Musketeers puzzle.
Just 3 Chris O'Donnells.
I would watch the shit out of that movie.
I'd make that puzzle.
It's like 200 pieces. I might do that, right? Like I might ramp up to big scary puzzles again.
Yeah,
but yeah, I guess there was something I wanted to say. Oh, here's the thing. It might not work for you, but it's been working for us. We have started a little bucket where we put on Post-it notes things we want to do after all of this is over, and that's fun. I would recommend doing something like that because it weirdly gives you stuff to look forward to. And you then sort of have an itinerary for when things get, I don't want to say back to normal anymore. I want to find a better word for that. Because the normal before was bullshit.
It's also not going to ever be like
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there's going to be we're all going to have to shift the paradigm a bit, folks. Let's it's going to be a little weird and wild for a bit, and we got to get used to that instead.
A sense of normalcy is restored? Is that better?
I don't know.
Like,
man.
I don't know where you can leave the house without wearing a mask. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want. I don't know.
I've started making a list of all of the burger places I am going to go and eat just a giant ass fucking burger. I look forward to the Brigham Burger from Bully Burger out here, Burley Burger. It's called the Brigham Burger because it's named after Brigham Young, the founder of Mormon, or one of the many founders of Mormonism.
He's not Joseph Smith. So.
He's not Joseph Smith. No, but for instance, the Mormon College, Brigham Young University, is named for him.
Right.
And he infamously had dozens upon dozens of wives, 10 of which were named Patty. So the Brigham Burger is a 10 Patty burger.
Buddy, I will be there.
So excited.
I'll be there for that.
Yeah.
Because let's figure it out when we can. Because
right.
I want to eat a 10 patty burger. That sounds incredible.
Right.
Yeah. I ate a 1.5 pound burger right before everything shut down. I went to a place called Gut Busters that I thought I dreamed, but it's real. I thought it had come to me in a fever dream, and then a friend of mine in Connecticut's like, "Hey, you want to go to Gut Busters?" And I'm like, "Don't joke about my dream place." How you know? You Freddy Krueger? You Inception in me?
You kill me? Is this how you kill me? You bring me to the burger place,
and then my gut literally busts.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're out there. Think of that. Look at food challenges. And if you're drinking like the recommended 8 cups of water a day, you're stretching your belly out. You could do them. You could do it.
Oh shit, man.
All right. So I think that's it for today's episode. You know what? I'm also one last recommendation. Watch Last Week Tonight.
Yeah.
Specifically the 6th episode of this season and the 8th episode of this season. It is legitimately the feel-good moment that the world needs now. And that's all I'm going to say. But they set something up in 6, and well, the outcome happens in 8, and I wept real tears. And nice. I recommend it.
Fantastic.
That you
man.
watch it. All right. So if you want to get in touch with Sejin and tell him what you've been rewatching, or, bounce any Twin Peaks theories off of him, you can find him on Twitter at Siege versus the World.
And if you want to hit Devin up with any suggestions of where he can go get his gut busted once all this nonsense is over, you can get him at Devin D. Decker.
All right. So until next time, let's throw it to our friend down under. Will, please bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Sejin Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.